Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, my fine friends. Welcome to episode 5 of season 6 of the Tom Petty Project podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Brown. This is the podcast that digs into the entire Tom Petty catalogue, song by song, album by album, and includes conversations with musicians, fans, and people connected with Tom along the way. So today's episode is a very special one. As my regular listeners will know, we recently lost a huge part of the Tom Petty fan community. Gwen Jones founded the Tom Petty Fans Forever Facebook group on January 27, 2021, and from there built a small but tight-knit community of truly wonderful people. I've chatted to a lot of people in this group, and the through line among all of them is a word, I think, that will underpin this entire episode: decency. Gwen was one of the most authentically decent people I've ever met, even if we only met virtually. And that will also become a recurring theme as I read out memories that people have shared about Gwen in the couple of weeks since we learned of her passing. So this episode will be a mix of tributes from friends as well as excerpts from our chat for the podcast back in January of this year. As a note, if I miss anyone or if someone did send me something, please accept my apologies. There were so many comments on various Facebook posts that I just couldn't fit them all into one episode. So I hope you'll accept that if I did miss you out, this was done either by oversight on my part or by expedience rather than any sort of lack of respect. Okay, so first, a little backstory. I decided to start this podcast way back in May of 2021 and wasn't sure how I'd be able to get it out to people who might find it interesting, even in passing. I stumbled across the Tom Petty Nation on Facebook, not realizing that it's the official estate-backed fan club, but I still had to navigate the sort of strict conditions that group has on promoting unofficial, quote-unquote products, which I assumed my podcast would be regarded as. I was instantly hit by how fervent Tom's fans were, or are, and how protective they are of his music and legacy. And I met a few great people early on and learned of a few more smaller groups, including the Tom Petty Fans Forever group. And I joined that group around August of 2021 when I started releasing my podcast episodes. And at first I figured it was just another avenue to get word of my podcast out there, but what I wasn't prepared for is how different this group was going to be and how many personal connections I was going to make through it. My first interaction with Gwen was for one of her giveaway contests that I entered. And incredibly, I was one of the lucky winners, and I received 3 Tom Petty postcards through the mail from this lady in Texas who didn't know me from a hole in the ground. I recognized, almost immediately that she was just a genuinely altruistic person who knew how much light she could bring into someone's life just by giving them something, and doing that for that reason alone and not expecting anything in return. Gwen also sent me a custom traveling Wilburys tee, as well as a custom Tom Petty project beer koozie, on different occasions, and a few other bits and pieces that would occasionally just show up in my mailbox. And I know that I'm far from the only person who received unexpected custom gifts from Gwen. She put a lot of thought into those gifts and made them very, very personal. And so she didn't just talk the talk, she most definitely walked the walk when it came to being kind and thoughtful. So this episode is probably mainly for the other members of the Tom Petty Fans Forever group, and I wanted to let Gwen tell you how and why she founded the group in her own words. But what I find with your group is that it's so much more, it's more like a family. It's warm and it's connected, and the people on there are genuinely lovely, and it's more like just having a conversation day to day about Tom Petty rather than sort of going out and I'm doing a post about Tom Petty. Well, no, I'm going chatting with my friends on your group.
Right.
So I wanted to ask you, when you started the group, was that kind of what you were looking to build, or what was the sort of the reason and the impetus behind starting the group?
Well, I was in a couple of groups, and I was in Tom, and I am still in Tom Petty Nation, and I'm still in a couple other groups. And I've always been one who, I don't mind people sharing, things. Some groups don't want you sharing their things to other groups or stuff. And so I was in one group where I was actually, the moderator and stuff to start with. And the lady got upset with me about posts, and I'm not even going to say which group that was, because anyone in my group pretty much knows, but she cut me out. So when the people found out, they started messaging me, and they asked me to start the group. I mean, I don't think I would have just done it on my own. But so many of the people I had met that are, in my group now and stuff, they're like, Gwen, start your own group. It'll be so much better. And you're just so much easier and so much, and right off the bat, we just started jumping up in numbers and stuff real quick. And so, we don't have a lot of rules. We don't let people sell knockoff stuff. I'm truly against that. The funny thing in my group is Dana Petty just joined a week or so ago. when I started, I think the thing is, like I said, we're watching each other's grandkids grow up. We're not just friends on Tom Petty, fans forever, but we're also friends off. And I can't say I'm friends with every single person in the group offline, but I've become very close with several of them. We've gone through, friends who have had issues with cancer in their families and with, their animals or just whatever the case may be. They're just down in the dumps, but we're more, at least we can talk to each other. And having, being a member of Tom Petty Nation, I think that's the biggest difference in our group. And of course, theirs is much larger, and I'm sure it's harder to keep up. But I think that there is a more like closeness in my group of people that are friendlier and more welcoming. I have met some great people in there, not just, and they're all members. And we have members, like in Canada, we have members in the Netherlands, in England, in Norway, in Greece. We have members all over the place. Ireland, and that's interesting because we do get to, the diversity of the different people and their take on things. So, my goal is hopefully, it'll get bigger. I don't care if we ever get to 30,000 people. I'm happy with it the way it is. And, and the people in there are such giving people. And if someone has a problem, then we try to help with it, the best.
So let's get to a couple of these tributes. But first, I love the comment that TPFF admin Marilyn Manning made on my post asking for memories. She said, Gwen would be so mortified and embarrassed, lol. Last laugh on you, girl. You being gone is indescribably tough. I think that really speaks to who she was. She wasn't looking for recognition or limelight, just to create the most welcoming community of fans that she could. So our first tribute comes from Dana. Dana Beck, who's Data Dana on Facebook, you may know. She says, Gwen was and still is my bright light in this dark world. I love and miss her, and our love of Tom Petty was matched. She accepted me in her group with love and kindness. She understood how Tom's music literally saved my life in my darkest moments and continued to. She understood, and we connected instantly. I've shared things about my past with her, and she just showed me love and gave great advice. I miss her and still talk to her daily. I'm trying to process this. It's hard talking with her for years and then not. It's crazy we never met in person, but it just shows her love and kindness was powerful. Normally Tom's music would pull me out of whatever situation I was going through back to square one. His music is home for me, but at that moment I can't listen. It's too hard, and I'm just trying to keep it together. Gwen is an angel, and I would say my saving Gwen. She truly is such a remarkable woman, strong and beautiful inside and out. And then as a note to me, Dana adds, thank you for reading. I know it's long, but no words truly express how grateful I am for Gwen. Patricia Yeager commented, she was one of my first messages I would see in the morning and always showed beautiful photos of Tom or Tom and Dana. She enjoyed sharing, and so I enjoyed watching. Connie, I think, Bridenbow, summed things up in 6 simple words. She always made me feel welcome. While Michelle Parker echoed what most of us feel, the most down-to-earth person I've ever met. Rose Hartley Grass again highlights the warmth that Gwen brought to the Facebook group with her regular daily posts and writes, I haven't known Gwen as long as many of you, but Gwen always made my mornings brighter and always had something nice to say. A very sweet and special person. Do you remember sort of the first time hearing Tom Petty and what song it was? Or
Yep, American Girl, and it was back in the 70s. And I guess it was when we were moving back to Houston from Kansas City, because I remember we were in a U-Haul truck, and that was the first time I'd heard it, which immediately when we got settled, I bought the album, their first album.
Yeah.
And from then on, that was hooked me to Tom Petty. And then as he got older and as I got older, because I married my husband when I was 18.
Yeah.
Well, I married him when I was 21, moved in with him when I was 18. But as he got older and I got older, it was like his music kind of changed, but he still had that, songs again that just for whatever the occasion was or whatever we were going through at the time, there was something there. And my husband felt the same way about that.
Like many friends, either in person or online, Sue Heights Bailey Brown has a strong connection to the love Gwen sent out into the world, writing, Gwen sent me stickers, guitar picks, and I met others like her. I even had John Scott send me his book autographed thanks to Kevin. And I'm going to quickly comment here that was entirely John's doing. He reached out to me and insisted on providing that copy personally. But Sue goes on to say, when I was going through my mastectomy last December, she was always there to give me encouraging words. About 2 months ago, my son was diagnosed with AML leukemia, and she was there for me then too. She never complained about anything going on bad in her life. I never knew she had any health issues. She was an angel, a diamond in the sky. I will miss her posts. She always would put a smile on my face. Petty on Gwen, you will be missed by so many. You know, Gwen touched people in so many ways just by being a good listener, really, or an advocate, or simply a friend. But she actively changed a lot of people's lives for the better by taking real time to help people one-on-one. And we heard a very personal tribute from Sue, and this one from Nicole Martinelli is equally poignant. She writes, this is words in loving memory and honor of our angel, and to many in the Tom Petty community, my and our amazing friend, Gwen Jones. She was a sweet, caring, genuine soul and the best friend that anyone could ever ask for. I am grateful to have called her my friend. Gwen was one of the first people to support me and purchase my work after my long break from the art world due to physical illness, which Tom's music helped me get through. But it was Gwen Jones who was always there for me through the many rejections you get, which art can be, just like the music scene. And you have lots of ups and downs, and she was always rooting for me. She inspired me to keep going when many people were not as supportive as she always showed me. In my last call, she was so genuinely happy for me. I got to tell her on the phone how I got accepted in 3 galleries, one that opened this Saturday, which is now bittersweet because my persistence is due to a really small group of friends, boyfriend, and a few family members, and one of the main support was Gwen Jones. I thanked her in what was now our last call, how she kept inspiring me to keep going and also taught me so many life lessons with such wisdom, love, and grace. She always knew just the right things to say to calm me, encourage me, and give me the strength and comfort through some very dark times in my life. Thank you to Gwen Jones for being such a light in my life, understanding, thoughtful, caring, genuine person, and a dear friend to me and to everyone. She was also able to connect with everyone in her Tom Petty Fans Forever group that she created and bring happiness and joy day in, day out. She had that ability to bring cheer wherever she would go. It was a gift. She had the ability to always bring joy and comfort to people. She was such a bright light in what can be a dark world during a very difficult last few years for many of us. She was always caring, sweet, and cheerful, loving, and kind. She was such a strong presence to me in my life and a great encouragement to me these last few years. I'm grateful getting to know her these past few years. She was an incredible role model and a great friend to me. She was honest, strong-willed, and always stood up for what was right, stood her ground, and loved her friends and family just as strongly and passionately. Sweet, funny, caring, and extremely understanding. You will be missed more than words could ever be expressed. You are an angel, and we all found an angel in our friend Gwen Jones. You may be gone, but you will never be forgotten. Thank you for sharing your light with us. We can only thank God it was not too late. Having gained a new angel, you will be missed more than words could ever be expressed. Nicole Martinelli. What is, if you could only pick, if you were forced with your arm up your back to pick one album, and it doesn't necessarily have to be your favorite album. It could be an album that's really important to you for some reason, but which one Tom Petty album would you take with you onto a desert island?
Southern Accent.
Ah, okay. Why? I'm going to ask you why.
Because there's so many songs on there that have meaning to me, and stuff that went through when my husband passed away, I think.
Okay.
So, I think Southern Accents.
So Southern Accents, and especially Rebels, will obviously always be special to most of us who were in Gwen's orbit. And I've posted and highlighted this before, but I wanted to include the Thicket story again here for you. If you've heard it more than once, you're free to skip ahead around 1 minute and 45 seconds. But I'm guessing that most of you will just enjoy listening to it again. And I also thought I'd add a little mood music to this one.
I will tell you a funny little story. My husband drank, sometimes too much. He and a buddy went off one night, and they went like probably 70 miles from our house, 60, 70 miles from our house. And at 3 a.m. I get a phone call, and it's the police department. And they're like, come pick up your husband. And I'm like, no. So anyway, I called my brother-in-law to come get me because he was in my car. My husband was. And So we go drive out there. My brother-in-law just drops me off. I get in my car, and his friend is with him, and I don't even know his friend. So we get in the car because I'm leaving, and the police say, you need to take them with you. I said, they're drunk. You're going to let me just take them? And he's like, take them. Because it's a little bit small town. So as soon as we get just out of town, on the side of the road, I pull over, and I stop, and I'm like, get out. Both of you just get out. Don't walk in front of me. Just walk yourself back home. And so I left him there, and it took him literally to the next day to get home, but that wasn't my problem. And there was no, and I did the scream in the car, left him out in the thicket.
Yeah.
We left out that song so much after the fact. It kind of just became a thing with us. Every time we hear that song, it was just look. But yeah, that was my thicket song. So my thicket story.
Here are a few more comments from Tom Petty Fans Forever members that highlight the care and attention we all received equally from Gwen as members of her herd, her community. Laurie Lynn Lanes writes, when I first joined TPFF, Gwen mailed me a sticker. It was that small but significant gesture that made me realise what a special person she was. She treated strangers like close friends and made everyone feel special. She will be sadly missed. Carol Rosenberg Shapiro adds, I don't even know where to begin. Gwen just made you feel like you had known her for years. We had a shared hobby of jigsaw puzzles. I, like many, never met Gwen in person but felt like I'd known her forever. Her daily posts made her a part of my everyday. I was looking forward to showing her my progress on my biggest puzzle yet when I read that she had passed. And Kimberly McCain Ennis comments, she asked us the dates for our birthdays, and on my birthday week before last, the first thing I saw that morning was a happy birthday wish from Gwen, followed by members of our group. It made my day. And I'm probably going to get this last name right, Sharon. I'm sorry about this, but I think Sharon Kinzel shares one of the more personal connections that she had through Gwen's kindness, writing, Gwen is my forever friend. We definitely connected on all things petty, but also on life in general. She was my saving grace through my husband's 10-month cancer journey. He's good now, she says in brackets. She checked in constantly. We'd stare at the moon in separate states and play the same petty songs simultaneously. And we petty puzzled all through COVID. That made for many laughs. She was an incredibly kind, caring woman. I'll never know how she fit so many friends in her life. She genuinely cared for everyone. She took time to listen to everyone. I know she will be missed by so many, many people. She brought out the best of us, and I'm thinking we will continue that on her or our site, Tom Petty Fans Forever, and Gwen Jones Fans for Life. Okay, so if you could go and see any Tom Petty concert from history, which one would it be?
Oh, my God. I think I would want to go back way to the beginning to Winterland.
Oh, wow. Okay. Right back then.
They were young and so full of energy and hungry and, striving to get it. And, I think there was, one of those shows, I think from the very start.
Ruthie Clark, one of the many musicians in our Facebook community, comments, as many others have, about Gwen's ability to make sure that we all felt included, writing, one of the sweetest, most genuine people ever. Gwenny took care of us, maintaining this petty family almost like a mother. She was our alpha female, our petty wolf pack leader. Helpful, inclusive, and kind. Always made you feel special, no matter how small or large our comments and conversations were. She had our back. She was kind enough to post my music, because seriously, I'm too stupid to figure it out. She says, no, really, I am. She was the first to greet us every morning, part of our lives all day long, and never missed telling us a good night. You'll never meet a more dedicated person to a cause. This girl came in high. This petty family meant everything to her. R.I.P. Gwenny. Something good coming came to Gwenny. It was heaven, and you can't do better than that. That angel is home now. Okay, and I'm sorry if I completely butchered this name as well. Rebecca Foster Pitoniak shares this difficult story about how she came to find the Tom Petty Fans Forever group and the support and kindness of Gwen Jones. She writes, my mum and husband had died 4 months apart in 2020 from COVID. I was in a deep despair, really in a funk. I was sitting down and my younger niece was watching YouTube, playing music videos. I asked her for the remote and said, do you want to see what Aunt Bibi listened to? She said, yeah. Well, I searched for Tom Petty and we watched several of his videos and I felt a little rejuvenated. It took me back to better days. So I got on my phone and searched Tom Petty fan clubs, and the first one I found was Tom Petty Fans Forever. I joined. Well, at first I was quiet, still depressed, just looking and liking posts, and then there was a contest. Gwen urged me to try. Well, I didn't win. However, I began chatting a lot more with our wonderful leader. Soon it was back and forth on posts, and she would encourage me to be more active, and I did. I would post all the time. I would search for new and different things. It gave me purpose. Well, through Gwen's approval, encouragement, and just kindness and caring, my coming alive in Tom Petty Fans Forever spilled over into my personal life, and I started living again. I owe all that to Gwen, and I never got to tell her, so I'm telling everyone there's a lot more little things and wonderful things she said, but if I listed them, we would be here forever. My only regret is last time I spoke to her was this last Saturday. I was waiting for COVID results. She was so concerned for me as I was her. She said that she had to get a cath put in, and I only wish the doctor would have done it sooner. Anyway, I went to text her, and my Wi-Fi was down. By the time it went up, it was Thursday. There was so much I wanted to tell my petty sister. I feel better, not COVID. I ordered my Tom Petty Christmas cards. I wanted to wish her well and reassure her for the upcoming procedure. But it was too late. Gwen, thank you for all your love, time, and kindness you have given us. Your family will be proud. You are such an amazing woman. You were tireless in your pursuit of keeping Tom Petty's memory alive. You cared about everyone in the club. You always offered great solutions, and your kindness, caring, and sharing often spilled over into our everyday lives. You made mention always of the love and joy your family brought to you. Gwen Jones, I am a better person for having known you. May you rest in peace and be with our creator and Tom Petty. I'll miss you, my dear, sweet Petty sister. Thank you so much for everything.
Shout out to my group people that, they're always thanking me, and I'm not great. I'm not awesome. I'm just me. And I couldn't do what I do if it weren't for all of them. So, my thank you to the group members.
Well, this is the first time I'm going to have to disagree with you during the podcast. I think you are wonderful, and I think you are awesome, and so do a lot of other people. And I really hope that you keep on doing what you're doing, because it does mean a lot to a lot of people. Like you said, we're 1,200 strong now, and that sort of sense of community and that sense of love that we all feel from that group does come from you. That does come from the way that you put that energy out into the group and into the world, and that's a really positive thing, especially at the moment of the way the world is. That's a huge part of all our lives. So thank you very much for doing what you do. Mary Drew writes of her 5-year friendship with Gwen. Well, Gwen Jones was one of 2 of my first Facebook petty sisters. I met her in 2017, and she was always so kind and loving and smart and funny. She always took time out to chat and listen to whatever was going on in my life if I brought it to her. When Jess Palladino started the Tom Petty People group, it was pretty much just us 3. Boy, did we have fun. Then Gwen started this group a few years later. Of course, I joined and followed her. Always will be dearly loved and missed. Judy Porofsky-Goldberg references Gwen being nervous about joining me on the podcast. It took her a few weeks to get herself ready to accept the invitation, and I'm sure a whole bunch of people cajoled her into it, for which I'll always be eternally grateful. Judy writes, when I spoke to her about the podcast, she was so excited about doing it, and I was excited about it too. Of course, she aced it. And she absolutely did. Lorraine McGilter, I'm not too sure if that's the correct last name, but echoes that even from afar, and even with the most casual of acquaintances, you always felt like Gwen was listening to you. She says, she made me feel very welcome and spoke to me a few times, very helpful. I did a free giveaway when I joined because I had 2 of the same DVD, and Gwen helped me with it. Always pointed me in the right direction of groups and helped with Tom stuff. Always replied when she could. Doesn't seem that long ago she replied to my comment, and I've been so busy missed some of the posts. Didn't know her very well, but enough time to know she was so lovely. And finally, Margot Mint comments, I remember when Gwen started Tom Petty Fans Forever. She welcomed everyone with such love, positivity, and generosity of spirit. I'll treasure the sticker she mailed me. It was such a loving gesture. Okay, so that's the end, folks. This episode's dedicated to Gwen and to her family, especially her daughter, Patricia, and her granddaughter, Leila, both of whom she spoke of so fondly and with so much love and pride. It's also dedicated to the wider community of decency and love that she built in her Facebook group, and which will go on in her memory as long as we stand by Gwen's principles. My favourite author, Sir Terry Pratchett, once wrote the following lines. No one is dead until the ripples they cause in the world die away, until the clock wound up winds down, until the crop they plant is harvested. The span of someone's life is only the core of their actual existence. Well, it's up to us now to keep that water rippling, to make sure the clock is always wound, and that we continue to seed the fields with decency, as Gwen taught us, so that the harvest may be reaped by future generations. In that way, like her beloved Tom Petty, her life will continue to have meaning. And though her light is now dimmed, her legacy will continue to shine brightly in the years to come, because love is always reflected back from the people you send it to. And Gwen radiated enough love to fuel the birth of a new star. Thanks so much for your friendship, Gwen. I will remember you always. Describe Tom Petty in 3 words.
Talented, humble, kind.
Beautiful.
That didn't take me long, did it? That was
Not at all, no. That's your wildflowers. That just came out of the air, out of nowhere.